Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the podcast. Jon Stanko here with Michael Ritz, previewing the games for Week 8 in the NFL season. And both, me and Mike, I think we both agree, this is one of the easier weeks so far this season, pick-wise.
Yeah, from what it looks like, I guess we'll just get right into it. Going into tonight's game, Thursday night game, we have the Carolina Panthers, who are surprised a lot in both senses of the word.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't know what you're going to get from them. They're going to be on the road tonight against one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Johnny, I don't know if you're feeling lucky tonight, but I'm going to go with the Panthers in this one. Cam Newton has been playing pretty well. He's been running well, and I guess that's the key. It's also the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers is awful right now. Who's gonna start? I think Glennon is gonna start for Tampa tonight.
Yes.
It's just it's just unfortunate. I don't know. Do you think Greg Schiano is gonna last? He'll probably last to the end of the year, but do you think this might be the season that they get rid of him?
They might get rid of him mid-season. The way I've seen it, the team could not rally around him. Tampa Bay, in my opinion, is the worst team in the NFL. And now Doug Martin officially out for Thursday night as well. What offense do they have? It's going to be double team Vincent Jackson and see what goes from there. And Carolina has a good defense anyway.
And Tampa averages only 14 points per game.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not beating anybody with those kind of stats.
Mm-hmm.
And Carolina only gives up 13 points a game. So it's their defense is the only consistent part of their of the team right now. And I think Carolina has an easy game tonight.
Yeah, Tampa Bay ranks second in the NFL offensively. Only Jacksonville averages less points. They only average 10. So I mean, it's one of those things. Listen, they have nothing good going for them. And that's why you have to. I think this is an easy pick. It's a bum Thursday night game. Watch the Red Sox instead. Watch the World Series because this game is not going to be entertaining at all. Cardinals. No, excuse me. Panthers easy. Panthers easy.
Johnny picks the Cardinals tonight.
No. Not happening.
We'll go into our Sunday games, and probably the only really toss-up here this week is the Dallas Cowboys, who surprised me in how they handled the Eagles last week, 17-3. How their defense came up without DeMarcus Ware, and with a hurt DeMarco Murray, how they were just able to at least still put up points on the board, going up against the Detroit Lions team in Detroit, who are kind of like the Panthers. You really don't know where you're going to get from them. You know their offense is going to show up, but how many points are they going to give up is always the question. Stanko, who do you have in this one?
I'm going with the Detroit Lions over the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be, it's a wide receiver extravaganza. You have possibly the best two wide receivers in the NFL right now, Des Bryant, Calvin Johnson. And all eyes are going to be on them. If DeMarco Murray's not able to go, I mean, it's especially going to be on Des Bryant. Listen, the catch Calvin Johnson had in triple coverage.
That was sick.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Stafford got lucky.
But he's lucky enough to have a player to throw to you like that. But I think it's going to be a really tight game. This might be the best game besides the Philadelphia Eagles New York Giants game, just because of the rivalry. But it might be the best game of this week. And I believe the Lions are at home. So you know what? I'm going to have to go with the Detroit Lions over the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to go with the Lions as well, not only because I really want to see the Cowboys lose, is I think the fact that the Lions, who are at home, their offense has never really, has always shown up, and I think that the Cowboys are going to have trouble stopping the Lions offense consistently. I think with Murray banged up, they did do well last week, but how consistent are the Cowboys going to be with a still hurt Murray? DeMarcus Ware is still banged up. How are they going to go week by week without these guys? Des Bryant is the only has played fantastic. He already has 6 touchdowns this year, over 500 yards receiving. But I really think that the Lions, who are probably due for a big win, I feel like they're due for a big win, especially at home. I think the Lions is the pick here with a banged up Cowboys team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is, can the Dallas Cowboys keep or can they get Detroit off the field on third down? Detroit on third down converts 44% of the time, and that's because of Reggie Bush. And you throw a ball to Reggie Bush in the flat, he can get you 6 yards for that first down. So that's why this team is so dangerous. But there's going to be a ton of passing yards. Both teams average over 350 passing yards per game. Expect gunslinging galore. And Reggie Bush has not had a good week in quite a while. I mean, that first week we all thought was over 100 yards, and it was just like, oh my God, crazy. But he hasn't done anything really lately. Expect him to try and bounce back, but if the Cowboys can't get Detroit off the field quickly, they're gonna have problems.
I definitely
I am
agree.
surprised we agree on that pick.
Me too, but I really hate the Cowboys. One of the best teams in the NFL. I don't know, Johnny. We got to talk about your power rankings in a second after we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. We have the Chiefs going up against the Cleveland Browns this week.
Mm-hmm.
The Browns, who are they starting this week, Johnny?
Jason Campbell.
They are starting Jason Campbell.
Former Washington Redskin great.
They're the third starting quarterback for the Browns this season. So this is their 8th game of 3 starting quarterbacks. Obviously not a recipe for success.
No.
Going up against it in Arrowhead, one of the best teams in the NFL. As of right now, Andy Reid has his team playing great, and it's a big part of it is because of their defense, Johnny.
Yeah, listen, Andy Reid turned that team around. This defense leads the NFL in sacks. They get after the quarterback, and they know how to do it well. That's why you got to worry about Jason Campbell. It's his first time under center in a long time. How antsy is he going to be? And this KC defense, they don't make mistakes. And the KC offense doesn't turn the ball over.
This is going to get ugly.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an ugly game. I expect Jamal Charles to go off, and I think it's going to be pretty easy taken for Kansas City today. Cleveland, no matter how many points you're getting on the spread, I'm picking KC.
Yeah, I completely agree. Jamal Charles has been playing fantastic. I think he's a touchdown in each of his first 7 games.
Yes, he does.
He's one of 2 players to ever do it.
Really?
Yes, they said it on SportsCenter last week.
There you go.
Jamal Charles playing, especially coming off, he's been banged up in years past.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a huge breakout year for Jamal Charles, but Kansas City is just very, very good.
Oh, they're too good.
Do you think they are the best team in the NFL right now?
No. I have the Seattle Seahawks as the best team in the NFL right now, just because KC has not played that tough of a schedule. In my mind, they played a lot of backup quarterbacks. You remember Week 1, they won 28-2 against Jacksonville. I'm sorry, a win against Jacksonville doesn't mean that much. The only really good win that they have is they beat Dallas, and Dallas is a pretty good team. I mean, they're 7-0, and the thing is that they beat Texans. They only beat them by 1, and Texans aren't that good of a team either right now. They're not a team that's really going to blow you out unless you're Jacksonville. So that's why I got to put Seattle up there, because they've beaten good opponents, and they only lost to, I believe, the Indianapolis Colts, who just beat Denver. So they're legit. When KC beats a good, legitimate team, then I'll put them number 1. But as of right now, their schedule's been fairly weak.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'll put Denver ahead of Kansas City as well.
Ooh.
As of right now. I really think that if they went up against each other, I think Denver would have the upper hand. I honestly believe that. I think Denver also falls in that category of who have they played. But at least for me, this is just strictly just an unbiased thing. But I think Kansas City really needs to be tested, and they aren't going to be again this week.
Yeah, let's see who they play. They played Jacksonville Week 1, won 28-2. They beat Dallas Week 2. That's a good win.
That's a solid win.
They beat Philadelphia, who's 3-4. They're not a great team, though. And I can't say that that's a great win, because Philadelphia's been hit or miss all season long.
Took care of the Giants.
They took care of the Giants. Giants not a very good team this year. Tennessee, they took care of. Tennessee was playing well at that point, but again, it's still Tennessee.
Right.
And Jake Locker wasn't in the game. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick. They beat Oakland, not a good team, and they only beat Houston by 1. So, I mean, it's really tough. And they got Cleveland this week. Then they go to Buffalo, which
Ralph Wilson Stadium. Never know.
You never know. And then it's going to be Week 11 against Denver.
Here we go.
That's going to be the game. If Kansas City is legit, if they're undefeated, then even if they hang in there against Denver, then I think you say they're a good team.
Right.
But Denver has the capability to blow anyone out, but they also have the capability to let up a ton of points. But I mean, KC right now I have them at number 2. I'm surprised you have them at number 3.
As of right now. Obviously things change.
Yes, obviously things change. All right, but moving forward onto the next game, we have the Miami Dolphins going to New England. New England looking to rebound off of a tough loss to the New York Jets, and Miami looking to rebound after a tough loss to Buffalo Bills.
You already know.
So who you got in this one? Miami, New England.
I'm taking the Patriots. I think the Dolphins are really struggling right now. They lost 3 straight, about to lose 4 straight. They're playing at Gillette Stadium. The Patriots are obviously angry over the fact that they just lost to a big divisional rival, the Jets, in not the best way. Sorry to bring it up.
No, it's fine.
But I think Brady is going to look to bounce back. He didn't throw a touchdown against the Jets. I think he's going to try to go off. Gronk had over 100 yards receiving last week, which was promising to say the least in his first game back off of injury. I think they were talking about how the locker room was getting a little stirred with the whole Gronk thing. But I think the fact that he's back obviously helps things out. And but yeah, I think the Patriots are too good. And I think the Dolphins are in a bad place right now, and things are about to get worse.
Yeah, I think Miami, their season, basically, and their playoffs hope ended last week with a loss to Buffalo.
That's a big loss. That's a big divisional loss.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think you saw the real Miami last week. They showed promise in the first weeks, but then New Orleans showed them who they really are, and they haven't bounced back since. New England. They very, very rarely lose 2 games in a row. They almost did this year with Cincinnati, New Orleans, but they pulled out against New Orleans. I don't think there's going to be the late game heroics here against the Dolphins at home, where obviously Tom Brady and listen, Rob Gronkowski, mark my words, he's going to have a touchdown this week.
Oh,
he's going to have a touchdown.
Definitely, because when it gets closer to the red zone, I think that's when he snaps too. So that'll be. I think that this could get ugly too, because an angry Patriots team is never a good team to play.
No.
Patriots coming off a loss is never a good team to play. But that was I didn't expect Johnny to pick the Dolphins there.
No, and I mean what's crazy is New England ranks 20th in passing yards per game, and then they have Tom Brady at quarterback. It's scary to think that. And listen, we don't have that good of a running game because I'm saying we because I'm a Patriots fan. But it's just listen. Stephen Ridley's been hurt. Shane Vereen, he's catching passes on the sideline, but he won't be back this week probably. We're getting our pieces back bit by bit. As a Patriot fan, I'm just hoping maybe by week 10 we'll have a full team. But Akeem Sleeve's going to be back this week, which I think is going to be big. He's going to be on Mike Wallace all game long. So I mean, I think that'll really help. And Tom Brady can have 2 bad games in a row. I don't think so.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Another really good quarterback is Drew Brees, who is playing lights out this season. He has his boy Jimmy Graham, who for the first time all season last week got blanked. No receptions, no yards.
Against the New England Patriots.
Against the Patriots. But it's going to be a little different this game. They're taking on the Buffalo Bills. Playing away from the Mecca. They're going to play New Orleans.
Away from the Mecca.
And Johnny, I don't know about you, but I do not see Buffalo pulling out the late-time heroics like they did last week against Miami. I have the Saints. I think their offense is just simply too dominant. And I think we've talked about this. Saints' defense is a little underrated.
Yes.
With what's his face, Rex Ryan's brother, Rob Ryan. Rob Ryan has done a fantastic job with this mess of a defense that it always has been.
Yep.
Making the Saints have at least a better shot when they make it to the playoffs.
They're gonna make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and but yeah, the Saints at home. Drew Brees, Jimmy Graham. It's gonna be a tough day for Buffalo.
Yeah. Listen, New Orleans, their defense has really, really improved. They only allow 338 yards per game. Remember a couple years ago they allowed the most yards ever. I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, they allowed the most yards ever in the league. So it's really tough. You have to go with New Orleans in this game. As much as Buffalo I think has a little bit of me and Mikey's heart, just because the Mecca, Mike called it.
It's the Mecca.
Mike called that week 1, and I can't believe he called that week 1, but he called it. But I think you have to go with New Orleans, especially off a bye. Sean Payton.
Yeah,
I think this is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. Now, getting into this next game, which I can just say this is going to be our only disagreement this week. My New York Giants, who have finally got on the winning path, dominating the very good Minnesota Vikings team that they are. I mean, they looked great. It was they pulled one out, the Giants. Vikings looked great. Everything's back to normal. How bad did Josh Freeman look last week?
Atrocious. He looked awful, and now he has a concussion. Yeah. So who knows if he's even going to play?
But anyway, the Giants came off a big 23-7 win, a sleeper Monday night game, but it wasn't for me. I was very happy with the result. Going up against the divisional rival Philadelphia Eagles, who put up a sleeper of their own. They did not look good at all at home against the Cowboys last week. Only putting up 3 points with their so-called great offense. And Johnny, I cannot not pick the Giants this week. I'm going with them again. G-Men, baby. I think that Peyton Hillis looked pretty good last week in his first game as a Giant. Let's face it, any solid running we can get is gonna be a plus for us. Ruben Randall is coming into his own. All season he really has been.
Yep.
And he had 2 touchdowns last time they played the Eagles. So hopefully that can continue. It's all about, can we protect Eli? Can we protect Eli, and can we stop this Eagles offense? And Stanko probably is going to run off a bunch of facts right now saying that the Giants are going to lose, but I have the Giants.
Listen, this game is a 50-50 game in my
mind.
You
already know.
It's a 50-50 game, but I'm going with the other side of the coin. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, the Philadelphia Eagles have the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL. And if the Giants don't have the ball, they're not going to score. And the Giants' rushing attack is ranked 31st in the NFL. But that being said, Philadelphia's pass secondary is awful. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the game Michael Vick got hurt and Nick Foles came in.
It is.
Michael Vick is coming back this week, most likely, and he's going to play. We were talking before we started. Mike Vick's going to test out his hamstring by running the 100-yard dash as fast as he can. If that's what he wants to do to train, to make sure he's all right,
that is risky.
That's fine, but he's going to be back. And listen, as well as Nick Foles played against the Giants when he came in, you saw last week how bad he played when he was in there for a full game. This Eagles offense is better with Michael Vick. I think last week answered that question. And Michael Vick, he creates space for all the other players because he can run. And I think the Giants would much rather play Nick Foles than Michael Vick because now they don't need to sacrifice a QB spy every time on defense.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think as much as Nick Foles killed us in that game, because we were still in the game when Nick Foles came in, I thought we were set, and he played very well. Probably his best game since he's been starter, at least this season. But yeah, I think they'd much rather go see him again than have to deal with Mike Vick, because Mike Vick is a headache every time he steps on the field.
Yeah, so listen, that's why I'm going to go with the Eagles. Can I see the Giants winning this game? Yes, I honestly can.
You already know.
But do I trust enough to believe it? No, so that's why I'm going to go with the Eagles. Chip Kelly is going to get the win. And also, I believe this one is in Philadelphia.
It is.
So that's another reason to go with the Eagles. If they can win in New York, I think they can win in Philly. But that being said, this might be the chippiest game of the week, I think, for sure.
This is definitely going to be the chippiest game. It always gets chippy between the Giants and the Eagles, especially because the Giants have been looking awful. I think the Eagles are definitely going to be talking that the Giants are going to be 1-6, and I don't think we're going to like it too much. And I see a lot of post play penalties.
Yes.
I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that going on.
A lot of unnecessary roughness will be happening.
Without a doubt.
But I mean, that's why the game is so entertaining to play. There we go. We disagree there. We're not going to disagree on this next game, though. We have San Francisco going to Jacksonville to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen, the Jaguars hung in there against Denver.
Oh my lord!
But they still didn't get the win. They're not going to beat San Francisco. I think Frank Gore is going to have an absolutely monster game against Jacksonville, and I think this is an absolute no-brainer. You got to go with San Francisco.
Yeah, I agree. Anything that Kaepernick needs to work out, he can do it here.
Yes,
I also think Cap's gonna have 2 touchdowns in the first half, and I think he's gonna finish with 2 touchdowns. But I feel like a lot of his work's gonna be done in the first half, and then Frank Gore is just gonna finish it off in the second half because they're not gonna need to throw the ball. I think I see one of these 31-7 kind of games for out of Frisco and Jacksonville. Jacksonville's terrible. Jacksonville's so bad. It's not even funny anymore how bad they are. I'm glad the Giants don't have the same record as them anymore. That was kind of a personal problem I was going through. That we had the same record as his team, but yeah, Frisco has an easy week. They basically have a bye week going up against Jacksonville.
Yeah. San Francisco, they lead the league in running touchdowns with 11, and they lead the league in 20-plus yard running plays with 12. I expect that
Frank Gore is going off.
Yes, I expect both those totals to go up this week by at least 2. And I think this is easy. San Francisco gets the easy dub. Jacksonville still at the bottom of the pile, competing for the first pick of the draft with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, God. Going into this next game, we have the New York Jets, who are coming off a great, well-deserved, well-earned win, Johnny. They are going into Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Andy Dalton, we talked about it in our previous podcast, You said it was one of his best performances of his career. I
Yep.
agreed, saying it was one of his best performances, at least this season. Andy Dalton looked very good last week, and he's going to need to do it again against this Jets defense. But I believe he will do it. I have the Bengals.
Yeah, I got the Bengals in this one, and it's out of pure spite. Because the Jets can't get lucky 2 weeks in a row, or they... Listen, I'm sorry. But no, I'm doing it because of spite, but I'm also doing it because I think the Bengals are a better team than the New York Jets. Listen, the Jets' defense is really, really good, but so is Cincinnati's. Mm-hmm. And Cincinnati, they have a wide receiver by the name of A.J. Green. It's going to be him and Cromartie. Who wins that battle is going to win this game, and I put my money on A.J. Green.
Yeah, Cromartie's not going to stop A.J. Green.
Listen, Geno Smith, he played well against the Patriots, but you saw him against a complicated defense like the Steelers, and he struggled. I think the same thing's going to happen this week. He's flip-flop every week. Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. This is time for a bad week for him, and that's why I got Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty simple there. It's weird. The Jets are just a weird team. They beat the Patriots, and they just lose. They lose to bad teams. Mm-hmm. It's just
it's crazy.
It's just a crazy, crazy season. You never know what you're going to get from the Jets, but I think we do going into this week.
Yes.
Now we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who started off the season 0-4. They are now 2-4, coming off a very good win against divisional rival, big-time rival, the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
Got a big win at home. They're going into Oakland now to take on the Raiders. Is this a trap game, Johnny?
No, this is the Steelers improving to 3-4. That's what's going to happen here. Listen, Oakland is coming off a bye. I don't think it matters because I think right now the Steelers have a little bit of swagger back. God bless you.
Thank you.
I think they got a little bit of swagger back. And I think they're feeling confident, although they're cautious moving forward. Like we're not good yet, but they're on their way to being there. And we both agreed that this team is going to be a spoiler by the end of the season. They might not make the playoffs. They might finish 8-8, but they're going to be a team no one wants to play the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Roethlisberger is looking better. I think they have. We talked about Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders. They have the weapons. I think they need a little bit. They need more of a run game to be successful, mm-hmm. And their defense has not looked good. But they did hold the Ravens 16 points last week.
Yes,
which was definitely good, especially with Flacco as their quarterback. Yeah, I have the Steelers as well. I just think the Raiders aren't that good. They don't have enough pieces to hurt the Steelers at all. The fact that it's in Oakland, I mean, I don't think that matters as much. Mm-hmm. I think, but like I said, I think Roethlisberger is getting. You said it. They're getting their swagger back. They're putting a string of wins together now, and this is just going to be another one. So they start off 0-4, going to win 3 straight here to improve 3-4.
Yeah, another thing is that they're playing Terrell Pryor, who's a running quarterback. The Steelers shut down Geno Smith, who was a running style quarterback who could run when he wanted to. Also, last time these two teams played, Ben Roethlisberger threw for 384 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions.
Oof.
That's why I think you're going to have to go with Pittsburgh in this game. Listen, Oakland, maybe you found your quarterback in Terrell Pryor, maybe not, I don't know, but you're going to have a top 5 draft pick by the end of the year, so the question will come up again. But that's why I think you got to go with the Steelers. You're going to improve to 3-4, and teams are not going to want to play Pittsburgh. I'm just going to tell you that. I'm proud that they didn't buy into the 0-4, and I think you got to give Tomlin credit for sticking to his guns, saying we're going to be all right. Yeah. And they came off that bye. They beat the Jets. They beat the Ravens, who are a good team. So you know what? Good for the Steelers. I'm happy to see them doing well because they fought back from what was a really, really rocky start.
Going into this next game, I feel bad for the Redskins because I thought, I'm not going to say I would have had them winning, but I thought I would have given them a fighter's chance if the Broncos won last week. Mm-hmm. Broncos coming off a surprising loss, a surprising loss to the Indianapolis Colts. Peyton going home, going back to Indianapolis, to Lucas Oil Stadium where he had so much success and he got a big ovation, which was great. We said it. It was great to see. But Andrew Luck stole the show. The 39-33 win.
Phenomenal.
Final Colts. Broncos' first loss of the season. I still have them as one of the two best teams in the league. They're going to go up against the Broncos, going up against the Redskins this week at home. Washington is if you look at their defensive statistics, they are last. They're close to last, if not last, in
almost every category.
They're 31st in everything. They are it's a mess, and it's bad when you're going up against a team who averages 42 points a game. So I think this might get a little ugly. Broncos going to improve to 7-1.
I agree. But listen, Denver does have the worst pass defense in the NFL. And RG3...
Take the over.
Take the over in this game. Listen, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I really think that Washington can actually hang in there. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. I think maybe it'll be like a 2-touchdown win, but I don't think it's going to get super ugly just because Denver's defense has shown they can't stop anyone.
It's probably going to be the most entertaining game of the
week. And Roy Halou had 3 touchdowns last week out of nowhere.
Odd because he really was quiet the entire season, but I guess when Alfred Morris is playing the way he's playing, you need to have another option.
Yeah. And listen, I mean... Roy Halou coming out of nowhere. You got Roy Halou, Alfred Morris running back tandem. You got RG3 who looked better last week in their win against Chicago, I believe. He looked pretty good. This game's going to be high scoring, I believe. I still have Denver winning because you take Peyton almost over anyone. But Denver's got to solve their defensive problems, and this is going to be a tough week to do it against an offense that can fly really high like the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Take the over.
gotta take the over here. Gotta take the over. Going into this next game, Johnny Stank, we have the Falcons 2-4. The 2-4 Falcons. Can you believe that 2-4?
Yeah.
Against the Cardinals, the 3-4 Cardinals, playing in Arizona. Carson Palmer, not doing much for me this season.
No.
Larry Fitzgerald has 4 touchdowns this season, but Johnny Stank, Falcons have not won on the road yet. Haven't looked necessarily good.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals, Bruce Arians, your boy, coming through. Cardinals have won. They have survived a lot of games. I'm just talking up the Cardinals a little bit to try to get you to pick the Cardinals. It doesn't work.
No. No. Atlanta, they won last week against Tampa Bay. It was not pretty. But at the same time, the Cardinals, I'm sorry, I don't believe in the Cardinals. I can't believe that they have 3 wins. Carson Palmer is 8 touchdowns, 13 interceptions so far this season, not playing well. And I think you got to look at Atlanta. Harry Douglas came up big last week. 149 yards, that's a career high for him, a touchdown. And Tony Gonzalez had only 2 receptions for 30 yards because the Bucs were like, we're going to take out Tony Gonzalez and hope someone else beats us. I'm going to go with Atlanta because I take Matt Ryan over Carson Palmer. Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, he's not 100%, but he's playing. And listen, he's a beast on the outside for Arizona. But if the Cardinals can't get the ball to him, I don't think their running game is good enough. And I think this game's going to be pretty high scoring, to be honest with you. I mean, Arizona only allows 19 points per game. But I think Atlanta's going to pressure them on that, and Atlanta's defense isn't that good, allowing 26 points per game. So I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring than people expect, but I think Atlanta's going to pull it out.
I think there's going to be a lot of throwing in this game because both teams don't average over 80 yards a game.
Ooh, yeah.
I think this game is going to be a little closer than what people think. People are also surprised because Arizona is favored in this game.
Yes.
Arizona is
took
favored.
Those points quick.
Arizona is favored in this game by 1 or 2 points, depending on what poll you look at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the Falcons. However,
you sound very hesitant.
I'm not confident with this pick. I think out of all the picks, this one I might be sitting up on Sunday trying to figure out. I'm saying the Falcons haven't played well. They really have not. And just because you're saying, oh, it's the Falcons, like they're going to do it, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it. The Cardinals are at home. But I just can't pick them. I just can't do it.
No,
I really can't. Other than Fitzgerald, who isn't 100%, they don't have a run game. You need to take the Falcons. I think it's going to be low scoring, to be honest with you. I don't see much coming out of either offense. I think Arizona doesn't score points to begin with, so it doesn't matter. And I think the Falcons are just going to be a little timid on the road. They're playing away from the dome. But I think Matt Ryan does not turn the ball over that much. Only has 3 picks in 7 games. And I think that they're going to control the ball enough to get I'll say a 6-point win. I see it being like a 16-10 game, but I have the Falcons.
You want to know what's crazy? This is all on ESPN.com. I didn't know this until I just read it. The Falcons beat the Cardinals last year 23-19 despite Matt Ryan throwing for 0 touchdowns and throwing for 5 interceptions.
Wow.
So that's why I'm going with Atlanta, because if they can win doing that,
Yeah.
I think they have a shot to win this year.
Good Lord.
So I mean that's why I got to go with Atlanta. But let's go to a dud of a primetime game, which is going to maybe just not even be worth watching after the first 5 minutes. The Green Bay Packers are going to Minnesota for Sunday Night Football in an awful primetime game. I won't even be excited to see Carrie Underwood for this game.
Well, wait.
That is how bad this game is going to be.
Oh, God. That is a stretch. I mean, I always have room for some Carrie Underwood. It is, but Johnny is right. The Vikings have looked awful. They've really looked bad. Josh Freeman, who was going to start again this week after his debacle in New York last week.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Christian Ponder, unfortunately, will get the nod. I don't know if you're a receiver who you'd rather have. But at least Ponder understands he has AP to hand it off to. I think AP will see a little more. Look, Ponder's not going to throw for 53 passes like Freeman did. So AP is going to get more carries this week, which will always benefit the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
But the Packers are banged up.
They are.
The Packers are banged up. Jermichael Finley, is he cleared? I don't think he's playing.
He's not playing. He's out 4 to 6 weeks.
He's out. So between him and Cobb and James Jones was questionable. I think he will play. James Jones will play. Jordy Nelson's their only healthy receiver. So, but I mean, with all that said, it's going to be the Packers. Packers are so bad. Peterson has not played well the past couple weeks. Granted, there was a lot of negative going on in his personal life right now with the death of his son.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I mean, the Vikings are just awful. They give up 30 points a game, and that's not good for going up against the Packers offense. And I think Rodgers is ready to have a field day.
Yeah. The way I see it, I'm just gonna be devil's advocate here, because you remember last year the Vikings had to beat Green Bay to get into the playoffs, and they did. And then in the playoffs, Christian Ponder couldn't play, and Joe Webb had to go in, and Green Bay got the win in the playoffs. Speaking as devil's advocate, Adrian Peterson last year had 409 yards rushing in these 2 games against Green Bay, and he had 99 yards rushing in the playoff game. So that's over 500 yards rushing in 3 games against Packers. And also, on Monday night, they only handed the ball off to him 13 times, which is some of the worst play calling I've ever seen, ever. Just
so bad.
Awful. So I think he's going to get a lot more touches as he should.
There you go. So I think you should pick the Vikings.
But I'm not going to pick the Vikings because I'm only acting as devil's advocate, because you would need 10 Christian Ponders to match up to Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, even without Jermichael Finley, without Randall Cobb, is James Jones playing? Do we know yet?
I think he's questionable.
I think he's questionable.
I think he'll play.
They might not need him to play.
Yeah.
But Jordy Nelson. Listen, Greg Jennings also going back to playing Green Bay, first time. Going to be emotional for him, but he might not have a catch with the quarterbacks throwing to him.
True.
So that's why you got to go with Green Bay in this one. And Minnesota, you're competing with the Buccaneers and Jaguars at this point.
Oh man, no! Shots fired.
There's the bottom 3 teams in the league are easily
so bad.
Minnesota, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. You could put them in any order you want right now. They're all awful.
I'm glad with the Giants being in that 1-win category that they are not the worst team.
Well, you're there with the Vikings now.
We are there with the Vikings. But we're not. I really think that we are a couple touchdowns. Thank God we're a couple touchdowns better than the Vikings.
Yes, you are.
Thank God we handled
yes,
that.
you are.
Going into this next game, which the Rams really irked me tonight, this morning, when we get a report that unfortunately when Sam Bradford went down, the talk was, who are the Rams going to get to be their quarterback?
Tebow?
It's not Tebow.
Oh.
It's not Tebow, which would have been great. I don't know what Jacksonville's waiting for. It's not Tebow. It's not Vince Young, who's out there and is looking for a team. It's Brett Favre.
Yes.
When you think that you get rid of this guy, the guy's 44 years old, hasn't played a game since, 2011?
Yeah, He's been coaching a high school football team.
Oh, my Lord. And the Rams call him before anybody else. Thank the Lord that he said that he was retired. He confirmed that that's not going to happen. But this guy's the new Vinny Testaverde.
Can you imagine if he came back?
But anyway, the Rams are without Sam Bradford, who has been flying under the radar a little bit. He's played pretty well. He's thrown for 14 touchdowns this season, which is obviously good. And but they're going up against the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's gonna be a pretty solid Monday night game. Minus if they had Bradford, it'd be a pretty good Monday night game.
Yeah.
But the Seahawks, Russell Wilson played very well last week. He really surprised me last week because I'm not the biggest. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of him. I'm just saying I think that he's a little overrated. I'm just saying people really talk about this guy like he's great. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, and that's all I'll give him right now. I think Marshawn Lynch, who is an animal, helps him out so much.
Boom.
Marshawn Lynch is great, but their defense really saves them a lot of the time. And I'm taking the Seahawks here on Monday night. I think the fact that they don't have the Rams don't have Bradford really stinks for them. And they don't have a solid run game. They don't have any run game. Really.
No.
They really have no run game. So with no run game and nobody to throw the ball, the Rams are out of luck on Monday.
Yeah, the discrepancy between running attacks in this game is astronomical.
Oh God, yeah.
Astronomical. Russell Wilson almost has more rushing yards than the St. Louis running backs, Zach Stacy and Dale Richardson.
Oh, man.
So that's really bad. Kellen Clements is going to start at quarterback. It's going to be his 13th career start, former Jet. He's been back up to Sam Bradford for 2 years. He's worked under Marty Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer, when he was in New York. So he knows the system well, but just because you know the system, when you have no weapons around you, the system's not going to work. So that's you got to go with Seattle in this game. If Sam Bradford was in this game, I'd say it would be competitive because Sam Bradford is putting up better numbers than Russell Wilson this season, or he was.
True.
But it's going to be really tough to overcome the loss of your starting quarterback in just 1 week. And when you only average 71 rushing yards per game and you allow 126 per game, things are going to get ugly. And I see this as an easy, at least 2-touchdown win for Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I hope that the Monday night game is always good. I really see the Seahawks pulling away with this one. These Monday night games got to get better, Johnny. They have been sleepers. They have been blowouts. And but it's just, what are you gonna do? It stinks when you schedule these games, and it's tough that a lot of the time you're not watching a lot of these in the second half.
Yeah, because they're blowouts. They're not good. Oh, let's look up the rest of the Monday night schedule though, so we can get though we can both agree Sunday night has had better football games.
Sunday has had better games than Monday.
All right, so we got Seattle St. Louis this week on Monday. Next Monday we got Chicago Green Bay.
That's gonna be a good game.
No Jay Cutler though.
It's still going to be a good game.
Still going to be a good game. That one's in Green Bay.
Coming off a bye.
Coming off a bye.
Yep,
that's right. So they'll have time to prepare without Jay Cutler. Week 10, Miami, Tampa Bay. Oh, God.
Oh, Lord.
God. Is that the second Monday night game for Miami?
So, yeah, it is.
Because they got New Orleans?
Yeah, New Orleans.
New England, Carolina.
You know what? That game's in Carolina. I don't know, Johnny. I do not know.
It's better than Miami, Tampa Bay.
It's better than Miami, Tampa Bay. It is.
It's better than Miami, Tampa Bay.
It is.
Then we got San Francisco, Washington.
That's going to be a good game.
That could be intriguing.
That's a good game.
That could be intriguing. That could definitely be intriguing. That would have playoff implications as well.
That probably does.
That might.
That late, yeah.
New Orleans, Seattle.
That is.
There we go.
There we go. That's a game. Can Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham pull off a dominating offensive performance in Seattle?
In CenturyLink. That's a fantastic game.
When is
that is week 13. Oh. Only gotta wait 5 more weeks. Only gotta wait 5 more weeks. Then we got Dallas, Chicago.
All right.
Good game, which is a solid game. Then we got Baltimore, Detroit, solid game.
So it looks like our better games are
all at the latter half of the season. And then we got Atlanta, San Francisco.
That's going to be a good game as well.
That might have playoff implications if Atlanta can turn it around.
Yeah, which I think they will. I think they will. I mean, granted, they might lose to the Cardinals this week, but...
Yeah. But listen. All right, so the last weeks 13 through 16, awesome Monday night games. Yeah. But you got to step your game up in between there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, at least we still get Carrie Underwood on Sunday nights.
That is very true.
That's very true. Looking back at the picks from last week, me and Mike were both 10-5. I'm 69-38. Mike is 66-41. The only disagreement we have this week, I got the Eagles.
G-Men, baby!
You got the G-Men, the New York Giants, going to defeat the Eagles in Philadelphia.
You already know.
Which is a 50-50 game, so I can give you that one. It's going to be close.
Yes, it will.
But I want to thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and good luck on your picks. This is a fairly easy week, I think.
It is.
You should be able to get a winning record on this one. Not too many discrepancies, I believe. But you never know what can happen in the NFL.
Especially this season.
Especially this season, that's right. Mike, John, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and enjoy Week 8.